The United States and Jamaica collaborate in numerous ways, and law enforcement is one of those big ticket items. How fruitful are some of those crime fighting collabs? What's the future of these law enforcement partnerships? We'll get those questions answered and more on this episode of Follow the Money. Welcome to Follow the Money, the podcast that unpacks the world of financial crime and how it affects us here in Jamaica. This podcast is a production of the Financial Investigations Division, FID. I'm your host, Robian Williams, and today we're taking you behind the scenes of how international cooperation helps bring cybercriminals and scammers to justice. With me is Mr. Kevin Freeman. He is the manager of the Jamaican operations linked to telemarketing, JOLT Fusion Center, the office that stands at a critical junction between U.S. and Jamaican law enforcement to fight lottery and cyber scams. We'll talk about how intelligence sharing works, what successes we've already seen, and what Jamaica can expect in the future. Mr. Freeman, thank you so much for joining us. To begin, what is JOLT Fusion Center and what are its core mandates?
Well, thank you for having me here today. The JOLT Fusion Center is a collaborative effort between the United States Postal Inspection Service, Homeland Security Investigations, and the U.S. Marshal Service. We share intelligence, we work together on cases, and our objectives are to identify and dismantle transnational criminal organizations that defraud U.S. citizens.
Indeed. And how has the center's mandate evolved, especially given how lottery scams and cybercrime have changed?
Well, our mandate hasn't really changed, but we have changed some techniques to match what the criminals are doing. So criminals have evolved, and so we evolved to keep matched them.
Indeed. How does JOLT facilitate cross-border partnerships in detecting and prosecuting fraudsters? You say you're in charge of your U.S. citizens, right?
Yes.
So how does that collaboration and partnership really work in detecting and prosecuting fraudsters?
So we will get numerous amounts of leads from the U.S. or even from here in Jamaica, where persons will tell us about somebody being scammed. They'll come from smaller law enforcement agencies like local police, sheriff's departments, or even concerned citizens, family members. We'll take those leads, we work them up, and see if they join in any other cases we have going at present. If not, we'll run them through the Fusion Center. So I take the information, run them through the United States Postal Inspection Service. My HSI counterpart runs it through his databases and U.S. Marshals, and then we see if we can come together and make a case.
How often does this happen?
This happens daily.
It happens daily?
It happens daily.
And that's quite interesting because people are being scammed on a daily basis.
On a daily basis.
U.S. citizens, speak to me. How susceptible are they in terms of being scammed by a Jamaican?
Well, I would say they're fairly susceptible. There are a lot of persons in the United States that live alone, elderly. People will reach out to them.
Yes.
And the prospect of winning a large amount of money is tantalizing to a lot of people.
Yes.
So if someone calls you and tells you you have the possibility of winning 25 million US dollars, a new car,
yes,
you're gonna listen.
But you can imagine there would be some red flags if someone is supposed to call you to say that you've won something and you're supposed to send them a certain amount of money to get something.
Yes, that would raise a red flag, but a lot of the scammers are very adept, and they know a lot about our system of winning and taxation. So everybody knows if you win a lottery, even a legitimate lottery, you have to pay your taxes. Taxes come out of the money, and then you receive what's left over. So when the scammers are calling the victims, they're telling them, well, you have to pay your taxes before you get your winnings. It falls right along the line what happens in the United States. You win $25 million, you're not actually receiving $25 million.
It's being taxed.
It's being taxed. So they collect the taxes, and a lot of the US citizens, they're willing to pay it to even win the lesser amount of money.
Is it that these scams are happening to older people?
Generally, yes. Lottery scams are targeted towards elderly people and also vulnerable people, people who are alone, people who may have a disability, or people who might not be as, have a higher cognitive functioning.
What legal or operational challenges come with sharing intelligence internationally? For example, regarding the jurisdiction, data privacy, or evidence admissibility?
So the legal challenges are, what we can share and what should we share between jurisdictions. Inside the United States, if we have a joint case with Postal Inspection Service, HSI, we can share information because we're working the same case. When we're trying to share information with our Jamaican law enforcement partners, such as FID, there are other challenges that we have to go. So what we do is we pair the prosecutor in the United States with a prosecutor here. They speak about the framework on which we operate, and then we go forward with our investigation.
Indeed. Let's look at trends and success stories. Could you share some recent success that came from the Jamaica-US partnership?
Okay, so our recently, in 2023, a person by the name of Damone Oakley, he was arrested. He's from St. James Parish. He was arrested and extradited. He was a part of a large network of scammers working in the St. James and Hanover area. He was extradited to the United States. He pled guilty in 2024, I believe.
Last year,
and he received a sentence to 16 years in U.S. federal prison.
Wow.
And most recently, earlier this month, I believe it was September 8th or 9th of this year, Dwayne Anderson, who was a part of that same network, but just a different faction, he was extradited to the United States, and he entered a plea of guilty in South Dakota, and he is awaiting sentencing, and he is looking at a similar, if not larger, sentence.
Moral of the story, there are consequences to your actions, yes?
Yes.
People are being prosecuted, and this is a real threat. So, for those of you who are listening, who are watching, just be wary, be mindful that people pay the consequences for their action. Are there like noticeable trends in the types of fraud you're seeing? Lottery scams, telemarketing, and so on.
The most notable trend I see emerging now is the use of Zelle and other payment, digital payment platforms. And this is challenging because the money moves so fast that we can't keep up with it on a daily basis. So we have employed cyber forensic persons to help us follow the money.
Yes. It makes sense. They are becoming sophisticated, so the system too has to become and adapt. Is there a shifting modus operandi among scammers as they adapt to law enforcement methods?
Well, as we find different ways to detect, identify, and arrest these persons, they shift all the time. And as they shift, we shift. We have to keep ourselves relevant, and we do so on a daily basis.
Indeed. And what technology, you mentioned technology advancement, what technological tools have proven most useful in JOLT's work?
To be honest, it's really not about the technology.
No? Do tell.
It's about the people.
Yes.
The people that we have working here at FID, JCF, MOCA. If we don't have the right people utilizing the technology that we have available, then these cases don't go forward. So we have to have these people who are trained and who are dedicated, and they give a lot of time and a lot of effort. So it's not about the actual technological advances, it's the people who use the technology.
Indeed. And recently there was talk about strengthening JOLT's intelligence software, synthetic detection, equipment, and so on. Are you at liberty to describe how these are being integrated?
Well, they're being integrated through the personnel that work at FID, MOCA, and JCF. I'm not at liberty to tell you what platforms we're using.
Yes.
But we do have platforms that we use, and they use them very well.
Okay. I'll take your answer. He can't share much. Okay, because it's top secret. How does JOLT handle cases crossing multiple jurisdiction, extradition? We're talking about cooperating foreign entities.
Okay, so how we look at it is everybody puts their egos aside. No one is bigger than anyone else. No one agency is a lead versus another agency. We all have the same goal, which is to identify trans-criminal organizations, detect them, locate them, arrest them, and prosecute them. We're not looking just for stats. We're looking to strengthen our partnerships with our Jamaican law enforcement partners and to strengthen our individual countries. It keeps the security of both countries high. There have been several instances where scammers have threatened persons in the United States and that keeps them sending money. And here in Jamaica, we have found that scammers operate in communities, and the funds from scamming fund everything else that they do.
Yeah.
Illicit arms trades, illicit drug trades, and it fuels the violence that we see being perpetrated throughout Jamaica.
Yeah. So it's not just scamming. Scamming leads to a whole
host of other things.
Right. Wow. What are the biggest obstacles you face, JOLT? I mean, it's a collaboration with multiple entities. You just said no one is leading. It's a cooperation. What are some of the obstacles you face?
The biggest obstacle I will tell you is time. These cases are intricate and they're long. So we have victims to interview. We have records to review. We have phones to analyze, computers, and everybody is writing their reports in different silos, and then we come together and we share that information, and then we put it together in the best possible packaging for both prosecutors here in the United States and here in Jamaica.
Indeed. Beyond the detection and the prosecution, how important is public awareness to JOLT's strategy? And what campaigns or education you have now?
So public awareness is very important. At the United States Postal Inspection Service, we partner with a few regulatory agencies, the FTC, the Better Business Bureau, and we get out the word about the various scams, especially those affecting elderly persons.
Yes.
We are trying to bring that here to Jamaica. Can't tell you too much about it right now.
Yes.
But it is something that is in the works, and in the near future, it'll be shared. But it's vitally important because we want the people of Jamaica to understand that they have a say-so. This is their country, and they have a stake in this as well.
Indeed. And this podcast, of course, is public, and we're educating you, the masses, through this forum. What role do other stakeholders play, the banks, telecoms, technology platforms, foreign law enforcement, in preventing scam?
So they play a major role because they deal with the customers on a daily basis. We only deal with them when they are referred to us. So if a person goes into a bank and they withdraw $50,000 US and tell them to wire it to some person, the bank has the opportunity to say, do you know this person? Why are you sending these? They have the opportunity and the ability to ask questions to be a frontline buffer between that. Same thing with telecommunications company. When you see a lot of calls going in and out from countries that are not necessarily you normally deal with, they can put up an alert and see what's going on. So they play a vital role, and we like to link with both of them to help them help us.
Indeed. Let me just go back to public education. In the US, what's being done to basically advise the elderly and those who are vulnerable to not fall prey to these scams?
So we employ several techniques. We do mailers where we send out flyers and telling them about the individual scams, and we also have what we call stand-up talks, where we go to elderly communities and we, just like I'm having a presentation with you, I have a presentation with them, and I tell them everything that we do, who we are, what we do, how we operate, and how we can assist them. And over the years, I've done hundreds of presentations to elderly groups throughout the Midwest.
Indeed. Looking forward, where do you see the biggest opportunities for JOLT to expand its impact, whether here in Jamaica or with its entities?
In both the U.S. and Jamaica, I think the biggest impact will become interacting with the citizens.
Yeah.
Getting the word out about what we do, how we operate, and how we're here to help is going to make an impact. We're trying to make a culture shift, a mind shift, so people in the United States who are being scammed aren't so readily scammed.
Yes.
And people in Jamaica who live in communities where they know scammers operate aren't so afraid to speak up.
And what are the key messages you'd like Jamaicans and partners abroad to understand about the importance of international cooperation and fighting crime?
Well, the importance is that it helps strengthen both countries.
Yes.
It helps keep the financial sectors from being targeted and misabused. And it also helps communities here in Jamaica be more peaceful, more prosperous. We're looking for a safer, stronger, more prosperous United States and a safer, stronger, more prosperous Jamaica.
Indeed. If someone is listening, watching, and they're like suspected of fraud, they're suspects rather of fraud or lottery scamming, what should they do? How can they report to JOLT, or to whom?
So my best advice would be to contact your local law enforcement, or go onto a website. FID has a website, JCF. They have telephone numbers, emails where you can report anonymously, and you can always report to the U.S. Embassy. And all that information will be filtered down and processed, and it will get to the JOLT Fusion Center, and we'll take action as we deem appropriate.
Indeed. I must ask before we close, what is the pattern of scam based on messages and emails? What are you seeing most? Are phone calls the thing now, or emails, or messages?
All those mediums are used. It's no one is not more prevalent. It just depends on the individual scammer or the individual scamming syndicate. Some like calling, and some use emails. Some use text messages. Some will utilize all three, or a combination of all three. So it just depends on the individuals.
And you'd think that us Jamaicans here, just calling abroad and changing our whole voice, our whole tone, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
Well, what I find too now is, in this age of AI, you don't really necessarily have to change your tone, because now you can use an AI voice that could mimic just a normal US voice, or a normal British voice, or a normal Canadian voice, and they wouldn't know if you are from Barbados or Jamaica or Nigeria.
Wow. Today we learned how cross-border cooperation leads to real enforcement. Great proof of concept, not just talk but action, and with evidence of transnational prosecutions that financial crime does not go unpunished. Mr. Freeman, your work is essential and truly inspiring. Thank you so much for all that you do, you and JOLT, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
If you suspect lottery scamming or other types of fraud, please, we ask you to call the FID hotline at 876-928-5141 or email contact@fid.gov.jm. Also, follow us on Instagram and the social media platforms at FID Jamaica. I'm your host, Robian Williams, and this is Follow the Money.